Hi everyone, I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Gabriela.
And we're here with another episode of So What's New? In this video, we're going to show you the brand new cotton collection called Blast Off from Dashwood Studios. We are going to talk about this quilt that goes perfect with the theme. It's a free pattern from Art Gallery, and we're going to demonstrate to you how to use those angular lines on your quilting ruler to achieve the 45-degree angles needed to make this quilt. So let's get started.
It's demo time. So now I'm going to give you a small scale demo using the pattern that we found free on Art Gallery's website.
And why did we pick this pattern, Gabriela?
Because you thought it said 3, 2, 1, blast off. Yeah, it's cute. So that's why we use the blast off fabrics.
Yes.
I mean, it's perfect.
Yes.
So angles can be confusing unless you know how to use the lines that come on most standard quilting rulers. So I'm going to demonstrate how you use that 45-degree angle, which you find it right there, 45 degrees, on your quilting ruler to cut the angles. So a few helpful tips that we found making this quilt together is that you need to first, it doesn't say in the pattern, but you need to make sure all of your strips are cut the same size. Because if not, they're not going to be the same size, because a lot of fabrics are different widths. They can vary in different widths, and measurements are super important in quilting, right, Kelsey?
Right.
Right. So for us, the Kona cotton was a lot wider than the blast off fabric, so we had to cut that down quite a bit. So that's very important. Make sure all your strips are the same size. And then I'm going to demo with this strip. So in the pattern, it shows you to cut these strips like a parallelogram. So you find the line on your ruler that's 45 degrees, and you line it up on the bottom of your strip. But you see how I'm not meeting the point here? You need to move that ruler, keeping the line on the bottom of your strip, until the corner of your strip meets up here on the ruler and your line is still lined up on the bottom. And that's going to give you a 45-degree cut right there. Mm-hmm. And how many times did we move around our ruler because we didn't have it set right?
Angles can be confusing.
It's okay. You can move around your ruler more than once. And then, so you do the same thing here.
We were joking yesterday, it's like flipping a USB stick because you don't get it inserted into your computer right the first time.
Right. And so now I'm using this line. There's two lines on this ruler, 45-degree lines. So now I want to use this line because I'm lining it up on the top of my strip. And then again, make sure your corner is being met on the side of the ruler. Mm-hmm. And then cut that there. If you want to be quicker about it, you can stack some of your strips on top of each other and cut them all at once, the same angle. A couple of other helpful tips that I've found is to make sure you know where your fabric's going. So the layout of your fabric. So Kelsey chose the layout of our quilt.
Yes.
And so it doesn't tell you, but this is fabric A. So we chose the darker part of fabric A, as you can see here. So looking at the quilt, it's A, B, C, D, E. And then the other fabrics are the blenders, and they go in between all of the other strips. So know where your fabrics are going and label them on your pattern. It's going to be easier that way. What are a couple of other helpful tips we found?
I think you're pretty much covering all of them.
Oh, one more thing. So when you're sewing your strips together, this is also where angles can be confusing. So yes. I'm going to cut another one here, find that 45-degree angle, and I'm going to cut it on our plain white fabric. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Is this I want it like this, so flip it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we were looking at it and we were placing the fabric in different ways and we were like, how does this
get sewn together?
Yeah. All right, so I have these two cut. Oopsie. Okay, so say we're sewing these two, and again, this is a small scale version. You're gonna have longer strips, but say we're sewing these two together. So naturally you wanna sew them like this, but then that doesn't give you what you want.
Oh,
you want it all to be slanted, right?
Right.
So then that's when I said, okay, we want it like this when it's done. So then flip it and you're gonna sew it and then you're gonna have what you want. And another helpful tip is the dog ear. Make sure you leave those dog ears when you start sewing, because when you stitch that 1/4 inch and you flip it, it's gonna be perfect.
That's a really good hint too.
Yeah. Also, another helpful tip that I found is in this pattern, you lay out you make one panel. There's 2 panels. So you make one panel and then the other panel. And so once you make the one panel, hang it up on your design wall, because when you're cutting the other strips, it's the opposite angle. So you need to see, it helped us to visualize one side and you're doing the opposite angle. So when you have your strip laid out and you're looking at this angle, you want it to meet in a point. So it's helpful to have the visual.
Okay, so great job with that demonstration on angles on your ruler for this quilt. The instructions really are great. We just wanted to share with you the things that we learned along the way while making this quilt yesterday.
Yeah.
There are 2 more things in this pattern. The image of where you square your quilt on the bottom is not accurate. They say to square here, but really you're gonna square all the way down here where this farthest point is. You're gonna just cut it off with your rotary cutter so you have a nice square bottom. And then the other thing was, because of the fabric we used, it tells you to cut a 24 7/8 inch square, and we found that we needed to cut it 26 1/4. So if you find that you're making this quilt, that would be our recommendation, is to cut the square larger than it says in the pattern.
And that's the square that goes up here. So you cut that square diagonally in half, and then it goes on the top 2 sides.
Yes. Super easy. We made the quilt in one day. It was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, we did it together. Do it with your friend.
Okay, it's new fabric time. Let's go ahead and take a look at Blast Off, the collection that just came in that we chose to use for the quilt. I love Blast Off because it's a gender neutral, space themed collection. It's really bright, it's happy, it's modern, and I'm laying these fabrics out in the order that I chose to lay out the quilt. I was very specific. I wanted to go from light to dark, from ground to deep space. That was my thought. So I went with the dots and then the rockets on a bright yellow background. I love the turquoise background, followed by royal blue with planets. But as you can see, they're not your average planets. They've got little squares and squiggles and stripes. And then we get to deep space. The astronauts have finally made it. And so I was pretty specific. I love it just like this, but you can certainly lay the quilt out however you want, and just be sure you enjoy it. So there were 3 other pieces in the collection that I didn't use that maybe you want to incorporate, which are the shooting stars and some outer space squiggle, maybe a black hole, and then the aliens they encounter while up in space. So this is a great collection. If you have a future astronaut in your home, I would think they would love this collection from Dashwood Studios. And then going off that, we thought, oh my gosh, we got in all this Sesame Street fabric, and how great would that quilt be in Sesame Street? So I'm gonna go through these quickly. There's about 10 of them here, but they're really neat. We've got Abby back in stock. We had a couple requests for that. This one looks like it's digitally printed. The clarity, it's just amazing. If you have any Sesame Street fans, I think they are gonna love that one. And then this would be cute for little garments for a kid. It's nice and bright and happy. And then Sesame Street Rocks. I like the noise theme of this one with Elmo. Oh, and we have another Elmo on turquoise. These are all from Quilting Treasures Fabrics. So once again, you can pick your 5 favorites and make the blast off quilt behind me. I think another reason that we liked that quilt, besides that it went with the blast off theme so well, is that the strips are big, so you can it's fast and easy. Let's get to the point. It's fast and easy. We made it yesterday. So if you're, under a time crunch, that would be a fast quilt to make behind me. You've got a birthday coming up for someone, or, oh, look at how cute. Okay. Can't have Sesame Street without the Cookie Monster. The other nice thing about the quilt behind us is that the strips are at least 5 inches wide, if memory serves me correctly. So you want to make sure you choose prints that you can see the motif in that 5-inch wide strip, which is pretty wide. Another Elmo. And then we brought these over here just because there's only 3, but if you wanted to do the quilt behind me using this up fabric, you could simply choose some solid colors to go in between. You can pull out the orange or the yellow, the green or the blue, whatever's your favorite. But this is from the Disney movie Up. All right. And that is all the new fabric for today's Sew What's New. It's all available in store or on sewing.net. Remember, we're going to link this free pattern for you from Art Gallery's website. And we so appreciate you watching. We hope we've inspired you to sew. Have a great day.